The People's Democratic Party, PDP, set the ball rolling on Monday when the party officially kicked off its campaign ahead of the 2023 election. The event, which took place in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, was a very successful one and had in attendance major stakeholders of the party from around the country. The main opposition party will be looking to unseat the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, come 2023, not just at the federal level, but also at the state level. As the ruling party still holds over 20 states, which is higher than that of the PDP. One of APC's strongest states in the country is Lagos, which the party has ruled for a very long time and may be difficult for any opposition party to wrest power from the APC in the state. However, the People's Democratic Party will be hoping to achieve that in the coming general election in 2023. Joining us on this show this morning as we talk about the People's Democratic Party's preparations in Lagos State is Banky Wellington, popularly called Banky W, PDP House of Representatives candidate for Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. Welcome to the morning show, Banky W.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
Well, many people will be surprised that you moved from the art world into politics.
Right.
Why politics? And why PDP, considering the fact that Lagos State has been an APC state since 1999?
Right. Well, the truth of the matter is, as long as I've been relevant in the art world, relevant in music, relevant in film, relevant as a small business entrepreneur, I've always been very vocal about the need for good governance and the need for young people to participate in politics. I've probably participated in more peaceful protests than just about anybody that I know amongst my peers. But the goal of activism and advocacy is impact, it's improvement. So if you haven't seen the impact and the improvement that you seek, then the activism has not yet been successful. And so for me, the message started to change from just raising awareness via activism and advocacy to saying, we have to start moving from protest to power. We have to start taking this energy and channeling it towards getting like minds into government and using that consensus of like minds to get a change. And that's where my mindset started changing. And I think in 2018, I started feeling like, the problem in Nigeria is from the top down, but the solution is from the bottom up. So we need to start focusing on the National Assembly, the Senate, the House of Reps, the state houses of assembly. And half the time when I would speak to young people, they wouldn't even know who was contesting for these seats. And then I started thinking, I felt this burden that said, if you, with your education and your success and your background and your following and your audience and your voice, if you can't use all of that and stick your neck out and say, you know what, I can be a part of this system and I can bring solutions to the table. If I don't do that myself, then who am I waiting for to get involved in the system? And so 2018, I prayed about it and I had a conversation with my wife. And the thing she said to me was, politics in Nigeria is dirty and it's dangerous. And I know your heart, but I know that the system is what it is, and I don't want anything that will soil you or harm you. And I said, the truth of the matter is politics will always be dirty and dangerous until good people start to be intentional about putting like minds in the system. And then regarding the question about why the PDP, politics is local, and you need structure to win elections. We ran in 2019 on a party called MDP, but MDP was literally myself and my friend BK. He was running in Ondo State, I was running in Lagos, and it was a bunch of young people, and we just, 3 months to election day, we said we can do this thing, we can stick our feet in the water, we can plant a seed at least, and that's what we did. After that election, INEC deregistered most of our political parties, which I was fully in support of because there were 96, it didn't make sense. And if you look at any functioning democracy in the world, if you want to get into office in America, you have to be a Democrat or Republican. If you want to get into office in the UK, you kind of have to pick between Labour and Conservative. And so for me, it was looking at both parties and saying, where do I think that I can go into without losing my soul, with being able to stand for what I stand for, with being able to fight for what I want to fight for. And the PDP ticked those boxes for me. It is truly a democratic party. Case in point, when I was making the announcement to come into the party and I was meeting with national leaders, a lot of them were very excited and supportive that I was coming to the party. But they told me, please, go and do your work in the wards. Because nobody can, this is not the kind of party that they can impose you on a constituency. They can't impose you on your people. No matter how good you may be for the party, you have to win the support and the confidence of your people in your constituency. And that's what I want. I wanted a politics or a political system where it is truly the will of the people that counts. It is truly people saying, you know what, we believe in what you're trying to do, we trust you, and we give you that confidence and that support. Not a situation where one person decides, you know, this is who you guys get. Whether you win your primaries or not, no matter what happens, it is my will.
Okay, Banky. I mean, so what do you now say to a lot of young people that say the PDP is part of the old order, those that have failed Nigeria? They talk about the 16 years of PDP putting us in the quagmire we are in today that led to the APC taking over.
Right.
What would you say to a lot of young Nigerians saying you're just like them now, the people you talk against, because the establishment is part of those that put Nigeria in the problem, the corruption, you know, the PDP government and all sorts.
Right.
And you're doing it in a Lagos state that is known to be an APC heartland. You know, that's quite difficult. And when you look at the numbers, correct me if I'm wrong, but as the PDP, you know, made any dent as regards the gubernatorial race in Lagos? Do they pick up too many, maybe accept House of Rep, maybe accept Amowo and some other areas like that? So a lot of people are saying you're fighting a losing battle already.
Well, the truth of the matter is we have to acknowledge the pain that a lot of young people feel. We have to acknowledge the frustration that they feel.
Some caused by the PDP, right?
Some caused by people in the PDP, absolutely. But the way that I look at it is a system is only as good as the people that are involved in it. A system is just a collection of people that are fighting or pushing for any kind of result. So the longer that we sit out the process, the more that the system will be bad. The truth of the matter is I am not here to defend everything bad that anybody in the history of the PDP has ever done. That's not my job. I'm not here to defend all of that. I'm here to reform it. I'm here to build a bridge into mainstream politics, starting from Lagos and starting from Eti-Osa, and say, listen guys, we can do this thing. And my primaries is a perfect example. I ran in the primaries. Most people thought that our ambition would die at the primaries. We won in a landslide. We woke up the next day, we saw that the mandate was trying to be taken from us. We had to fight that process. We must engage with Nigeria where it is, not where we want it to be. This is where Nigeria is. And we either give up on it and throw in the towel, or we say, you know what, we're going to engage with this system where it is, and we're going to stand for what we stand for, and we're going to fight for what we fight for. And by God's grace, we will be successful. We did the appeals committee for my primaries. They ruled in our favor. They said, okay, everybody in Lagos, go and do a rerun of the House of Reps primaries. Do you know that when they made that ruling, there were other House of Reps candidates in Lagos coming to me to say thank you, that because of you, I get another chance at my mandate. And I think that that's what happens when you put people that can influence the system to turn things around. We're not saying that there's a perfect history, but we're not here to defend the history. We're here to reform the future. And that's what it is for me.
Banky W, Eti-Osa federal constituency.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a major stronghold of the APC.
Yes, sir.
Where you also have heavily entrenched political interests, the Olubankole, the Elegushis,
Absolutely.
who are in the APC. What gives you the confidence that you can displace the APC in that federal constituency where you have all these heavily entrenched forces?
Right. The truth of the matter, sir, is you are right. Eti-Osa really is the backyard of some of the strongest political families. But you know, like the PDP slogan is power to the people. I actually believe, and I believe this with all of my heart and soul, that the power belongs to the people. It's just that the people have sat out the process. And we were having a conversation off camera about the fact that the real opponent in our politics is apathy. It's not one particular person or one godfather or even one political party. It's the apathy. It's the sitting out of the process that enables people to feel like they're entitled to leadership. I believe that leadership should be earned. Some people believe that it's an entitlement. It belongs to their family or it belongs to one particular person. And the more that we sit out the process, let me give you a perfect example. In 2019, Eti-Osa had 337,000 plus registered voters. Guess how many people participated in the election? 50,000 plus. That's less than, that's about 16 point something percent. The ruling party won that seat with 21,800 plus votes. I got 7,000 plus votes. Now, that means out of a constituency of 337,000 people, only less than 7.6% of voters decided who the representative would be. And that's, for me, that's the key, right? And listen, whatever our frustrations with the current administration may be, the fact that that electoral act was passed has done amazing things for our democracy, because now this election will be won or lost at each individual polling unit. Nobody can go in a room somewhere in a collation center and thumbprint hundreds of ballots for their candidate. Now you actually have to win the votes. By law, the BVAS system, the bimodal voter accreditation system, has to accredit that you are who you are. This card belongs to you, and you are legally allowed to vote at this polling unit. And then they must count. First of all, the results of that polling unit cannot be different than what the system accredited. You know, before we had the card reader, where they say the card reader is not working, manual accreditation, there's no more manual accreditation. So the results have to tally, number one. Number two, the results have to be counted and announced at each individual polling unit and pasted there. And then those results are transmitted electronically to the INEC server. So that whole thing of they're taking the votes by bus to get, and you know, all the kind of funny business. And I'm speaking from experience because I participated in an election before. But all of that is done. So that means my responsibility as a candidate is the 725 polling units that I have in Eti-Osa. Do I know where they are? Yes, I do. We've mapped out every single one of them. Can I assign a minimum of 4 to 5 people for each one of those polling units in my constituencies? People that I know that I can trust, people that can stand there and watch the election happen and monitor it and give me the results in my situation room. If we can do all of those things, if we can build up the right structure, if we can empower our people, if we can stand with our community, and if the community comes out and speaks with one voice, this thing not only can be done, it will be done. It is possible, and we will prove it in Eti-Osa, and we will build from here by God's grace. And we'll prove it in Lagos as well. Elections
are expensive, and I'm happy you just talked about 725 polling units or thereabout.
Yes, sir.
Times 4 people, which on election day, averagely, one person will be paid between 5 to 10,000 naira.
Probably more.
So that's 20,000 naira.
So we can't do that.
So that's 20,000 naira.
Yeah.
Conservative figure,
yeah,
all right, times 725 election centers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do the math, that's running to hundreds of millions or billions.
Yeah.
Banky, one, how are you getting the money? One, how did you make your money?
How did I make my money?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Let's ask that question for the sake of integrity and balance.
Okay.
So that when we ask all the political parties, they know it's a fair question.
Sure.
Are you getting money for this campaign?
Sure.
How did you make the money for this campaign? One. Two, let's talk about the problem on this axis.
Okay.
From Aja down to Lekki, down to all this area that constitute Eti-Osa constituency. Please, honestly, count for me. How many primary health care centers do you see?
Right.
Not too many.
Right.
Secondly, how many big established government general hospitals do you see? Not too many. But also, the fact on ground is that this has been the fastest growing corridor in the world for quite a while. What will be done as regards things like that, if we can get the stats here?
All right, so first of all, in terms of my own success as a businessman, I think that I've lived my life in the public eye for some time. So people know about my interest in the music business, my interest in the movie business, my interest in the restaurant business. I co-own a restaurant called Suya Bistro. I now run a marketing agency. It used to be a record label called EME. Now it's a marketing agency. And we service a lot of corporate clients who are not paying for airtime on Arise TV, so I can't tell you who they are. But God has been good to me. God has blessed me, blessed my business ventures. We have some interest in real estate, food, music, film, marketing and advertising, and that's where my personal income has come from. In terms of the money that you need for elections, you are completely right. Elections are incredibly expensive. So you spoke a little bit about the...
That's just election day spend.
The election day spend, right? What you didn't touch on is, for instance, in Eti-Osa, almost every billboard from Obalende to Ekpe is owned by the ruling party. So you can't even get on a billboard. And if you were going to get on a billboard, the 20 or 25% that are not owned by the ruling party, they're going to charge you 10 times as much because they know they may lose their license next year. So we're really faced with an uphill task of saying, how do we counteract that? And that comes through a guerrilla warfare, non-violent street approach to say, how do we have 20,000, 30,000 t-shirts and caps and wristbands and bumper stickers and little mini activations and rallies and so many things that these things cost a lot of money. The only way that a candidate like myself and any other candidate like myself is able to do this is for the private sector to get up and get involved. I strongly believe that our way out of the mess that we're in as a nation is through innovation and reform. Now, innovation doesn't happen in government offices. Innovation happens in the private sector, in our fintech, in our investments, in our music, in our agric, in the private sector. Case in point, Africa has 7 unicorns as of today. 5 of those are Nigerian. So we're chasing innovation pretty well, but reform can only happen at the table of government. And if we continue to ignore the chance to reform, then eventually policy will come that will kill your innovation in its tracks. Definitely. The easiest example of this is Twitter. President sends out a tweet, it could be interpreted to be a little insightful. They say, oh, you know what, we're going to delete it. And our government bans Twitter immediately. Didn't matter how many young people used it for business, didn't matter how many small businesses used it to advertise, the policy was done. And for me, that's the thing. The key is, how do we put people at the table of policy making, people that have the interests of our private businesses, our small businesses, our young people, our women at heart? And that's what this represents. It's an attempt to say, this is a proof of concept, that this thing can be done, that it is possible, that we can do better as a constituency, as a state of Lagos. Put people who are independent thinkers, who are reformers, not rent seekers, who are business people. I'm a businessman. My governorship candidate, Jandor, is a businessman. We're people who have actually built businesses and provided jobs and created wealth and created opportunities for young people. And I think that's the key. We've left politics to politicians. We've left politics to people who've just spent their entire careers being a part of the system and doing one assigned responsibility or another, not to people who have created opportunity and created jobs and created business. And then the other thing that you mentioned, taking our healthcare, for instance.
Yeah, how many primary healthcare centers on this axis?
Not enough. And here's the sad thing. We actually did a scope, almost like a tour of the primary healthcare centers. And you would be sad at the state of most of our primary healthcare centers. Just walking in there, you might be afraid that you might catch something just walking in the compound. And then the other thing is, we don't have a general hospital. And this is Eti-Osa, the headquarters of our economy. Every major business, every major industry is represented here. But if somebody really needs a hospital service and they're in Shangotedo, they have to travel all the way down through the Lekki Expressway, through Ozumba and Badiwe, until they get to a hospital in Lagos Island. And for me, that's not good enough. So if you look at my website is banky2023.com. If you look at the legislative agenda that is there, you'll see the details of what we hope to do using the powers of the office and how we hope to go about it. And my governorship candidate, Jandor, just released his manifesto today. So I'd like you to take a look at that as well.
Banky W, we have less than 3 minutes.
Okay, sir.
So,
All right, sorry, I talk a lot.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Let's talk about the fortunes of the PDP in Lagos State.
Okay, sir.
Now, the incumbent governor wants a second term. And then Lagos State is the major political base of the APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So the stakes are really high.
Absolutely.
So do you think that your party at the gubernatorial level or at any other level really stands a chance? Because if the APC have been using a strategy of complete occupation before now, in fact, for 2023, Lagos State is even more crucial.
It's critical, absolutely. So I can say this confidently. I think people would be shocked and really incredibly surprised to know the amount of groundwork that has gone into the Lagos State gubernatorial campaign. We have a candidate that I feel, is the most prepared, the most strategic, the most ambitious and driven candidate that we've had in a long time in terms of the opposition in Lagos. I'll tell you a quick story about Jandor. We had a candidates meeting, the 68 candidates running for office, whether it's Senate, House of Reps, State House of Assembly, and at the gubernatorial level. We had a meeting in Lagos just to kind of get on the same page, to discuss the agenda, to talk about our legislation and just the plans that we have. And we're sitting in a room, and Jandor is introducing his deputy governorship candidates to everybody in the room. And he's standing in the center of the room, and he names every single person and the constituency that they are running in throughout this entire room of 68 political candidates, and I think he got maybe 2 wrong. That shows a level of attention to detail, it shows a level of focus, it shows a level of planning and preparation, and I dare say a level of genius for you to have studied every single constituency and know the faces and the names of every single person. Sir, this man is focused, he's driven, he's a businessman, he's built businesses, and he has done, critically, he's done the work for the last 7 years. He's been building a grassroots structure where the elites may not be aware, because we're always the last to get involved or to know what is happening politically. But if you go into the ward meetings, they know who Jandor is, and they're ready to speak with one voice in the election. So I'm personally extremely optimistic about our chances as an opposition in Lagos State, across the country, and specifically in Eti-Osa. I think that we're going to pull off an upset by God's grace.
Okay, Bankole Wellington, we wish
sir.
you the very best.
Thank you very much.
As you pursue your career in politics. Thank you very much indeed.